welcome back to the Grandbaby Cakes kitchen. Today we are getting it baking, of course, with a delicious, simple recipe for vanilla cupcakes. This is a recipe you definitely need in your baking arsenal because it works for birthday parties, it works for get-togethers, it works for when you just want to Netflix and chill and just eat cupcakes all day. This is the perfect vehicle for frosting, and it's a classic recipe with classic flavors that you can basically do anything to. You can end up adding additional items to it to make it your own, but this staple recipe is something you definitely want to check out. Let's get started. To get started, we are going to do a standard creaming process here. So I've got my stand mixer, but if you don't have a stand mixer, you can also use a hand mixer and a regular mixing bowl. And we are going to begin with our butter. I've got some room temperature butter here. Make sure that you set this out, let it get to room temperature. If you press a thumb into it and you can get like some pushback, then it's perfect. You don't want it to get too soft. So I'm gonna add this into my mixer. And then I'm also going to add some oil. So this cupcake is not just a butter-based cupcake, it's also kind of a slash oil-based cupcake. I love adding oil to my cupcake batters and also my cake batters because it creates so much moistness and adds such a lovely crumb. I hate when you get like a super dry cupcake and then you're like, I just want the frosting, forget this, it tastes like cornbread. We're not doing that around these parts, okay? So make sure that you add the oil to this. All right, and I'm going to give that a nice mix. Next, I'm going to start to add in my granulated sugar, and this is where the creaming process happens. You want to actually get these granules into the butter mixture and create as much air as possible. So we really want to make sure that we don't feel the grit from the sugar. So this takes a few minutes because you really want to incorporate these two. Now let's crank this baby up. Yeah. So now you will see that our batter and our creaming process has sort of taken place. Now this is gonna be a little different than if you just used butter, like it would be much fluffier and lighter, but the oil is going to actually bring the mixture a little bit more liquidy and just bring it down. It's not gonna be as fluffy and heighty. I made that up. So as soon as you start to see that it's lightened in color, and you get sort of this kind of ivory tone, then you can start to add in your eggs. And we're gonna add in our eggs one at a time, get them nice and incorporated. Oh, well that backfired, but you know, it happens. So now I'm turning my mixer down to a much lower speed because I'm going to start to add in our dry ingredients. So I've got some all-purpose flour, and just for you, if you notice like the color is a little different, this is a gluten-free variety, but you can do cup for cup, so it should be totally fine. So I'm gonna start to add this in increments. Now, once I get all of that in there, I'm going to add in 2 types of leavening. I've got baking soda and baking powder because I want to give these a nice lift. And of course, some salt. Y'all know how I preach about adding salt to your sweet stuff, so make sure you add it in. Now we've got this luscious, thick batter, and we gotta loosen it up a bit. We're gonna add in some sour cream. I love baking with sour cream. It makes such a difference in terms of the texture and the moistness of your finished product. So I'm adding it in, y'all. Oh, and it's rich and tangy too. Okay. All right, now we're gonna add in some whole milk as well. And finally, y'all, some vanilla. We're making vanilla cupcakes. Gotta get the good stuff in there too. Crank this up and make sure everything comes together really well. All right, our batter looks great. It's silky smooth, everything's combined. It's time to bake these off. So now let's start to fill our cupcake liners. I'm just gonna use a cup. You can also use an ice cream scoop, but you wanna use something that you can do uniform scoops with, or just make sure that everything is uniform and leveled off so you have the correct amount of batter in each liner. So then you have even baking throughout for each one. So gonna add these in and just make sure you go about 3/4 of the way. You don't want these to just puff up too much. That's pretty good. Okay. So these are ready to pop in the oven. I'm baking at 325 for about 16 to 19 minutes. So start checking around 16 minutes. Let's go. So I've let our cupcakes cool. I wanted to make sure that they're completely cool. You wanna make sure that like when you touch it, there's no warmth at all before you start adding any type of buttercream, or it's just gonna fall off. It's just gonna melt right on off. So taking our cooled cupcakes out now. And if you checked out the previous video on Swiss meringue buttercream, or even the chocolate buttercream, or even the American buttercream, you can choose any buttercream you want for these. Anything will work. Like I said, this is a basic recipe where just about anything works, and it's just so adaptable, and that's why I love it. The moment of truth, our perfect little vanilla cupcakes are ready for tasting. Ooh, look at that. Delicious. Look at that moist, tender, fluffy exterior. Let's go, y'all. Look at that. Just perfectly fluffy. That buttercream to cupcake ratio is on point. Ooh! Y'all gotta make these right here, okay? If you loved this recipe video, make sure that you click the like and subscribe so you can get more of this deliciousness. And if you want the full recipe for these delicious vanilla cupcakes, make sure you head to grandbabycakes.com. See you next time. Yeah.